And these are still in progress, right? I guess these are going to be on PTS.
Yeah, the
But the
whole time
PTS notes didn't come out,
for
right? Like
feedback.
other stuff. That's still we're
No,
waiting on.
they'll be when the PTS comes.
Okay.
So there'll
Okay.
be other changes like class stuff, as usual.
10-4. All right. The first passive in every one doesn't really matter.
No.
So we're just gonna kind of skip that spell recharge for the high elf. I remember high elf looks fierce, dude. So they restore stam or magicka depending which is higher after activating a class ability. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. Reduce damage taken by 5 while channeling or casting. What's the difference between that anyway? Like I get channel, like beam or jabs. Jabs counts as a channel, right? Or soul assault.
Yeah.
What's casting?
Um.
Is that dark
So
deal?
like,
Is
yeah,
that
like Dark Deal or Channeled Acceleration,
mm,
stuff like that. I think it's
that's
just covering
just
all bases. They're
gotcha.
all really
Okay,
the same.
they're kind of the same. Okay, all right. So it's not bad. They didn't. What? Wait, what was the old one? The other one was magic recovery.
It was just regen, 10% regen. The old one.
So is that supposed to be more or less? Less, I
Uh,
imagine, right?
it just depends on if you built that way. So like in PvE, you
Right.
don't build that way. So
And
it
this is
was
what I
really
was
low.
wondering. Like, what was the target actually? If you can say and you know, was there a target? Was it like we're looking within mind of
So
no CP or current CP or future
uh, I think
projections?
I think the target was to add a theme to the classes to make them more of like an actual theme. Like a lot of them just have like
Right.
max stam, this and that, as well as bring a lot of them closer together. They're much closer than they've ever been. Besides when there was no caps or
Right.
soft caps or whatever.
Right. Right.
So also, yeah, for example, if you didn't build into regen, you weren't making much of that actual regen.
Yeah. Whereas you could invest fully in spell damage, for
You
example, be a
son of
glass
a
cannon,
bitch.
and really maximize your benefit from it.
Yeah. Whereas like Breton is the other scope. It's more like you can invest even more into all damage because you have such regen. So there's these little flip flops back and forth where
Right.
you can kind of build upon just the race alone and then build your gear on that.
Right. So I see something like that. That to me, like that seems to be more impactful too to the non CP area.
Right,
So
right,
I
yeah.
consider these in all those because right now, like CP staying in PVE for the foreseeable future, and even if it gets reworked, it's still there probably. But like, um, yeah, a lot of these things, especially the passive flats, are going to be more impactful in non CP overall. It's FearTurbo,
Also,
expert player.
uh,
That's right. He's a
also
professional. Okay, go ahead.
it's just easier to balance the game without another like percent. So let's say you add like some crazy gear into it, and then
Yes,
you see
yes.
some unforeseen like bonuses to
It's that
Lizard
power
because they have
creep type shit.
9% health. Yeah, yeah. It's
It's
just easier. It's easier. More to manage. Cooler things can come out.
yeah, it is easier for them to manage and distinctly know what's going to be impacted and kind of say you're putting in these brand new sets or whatever, and you're building a new guy, and it's a year later, and CP's up. Things get out of control pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like 9% magic recovery, guys, for example, on something like the Lich set would be very impactful there. Whereas with this, completely different. So, okay. Gift of Magnus. Uh, so, increase your max magic by 2k. That's a lot.
Hmm.
And what's the
Yep.
over under? I think I saw different people post and stuff, but overall, these are, if you min maxed, you're going to be a little lower now, right?
Yeah, yeah, just a little lower than before because oh, if you built into a high pool,
Right.
you're just a little bit under that. But
You
we
son of
also
a
get the spell
bitch.
damage, which affects all damage and not just elemental, which is a huge bonus.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
big.
really, it makes up for it, and it scales. These are just not even scaled up. Like that scales a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that's interesting. What was the reasoning on restore magicka or stamina based on which is higher when you get max magicka and only spell damage? It's kind of
Honestly, I'm
weird.
not too sure about that one, but
The one on the Dark Elf later, I kind of understood, or
so
different other ones, but that one seems
so
weird.
maybe the Dragon Disruptor, like you have more max stam, and then when you use a Dark Deal, you have a ton of magic regen, but you're gaining magic, like you're gaining stamina when you use Dark Deal on top of like gaining stamina from Dark Deal. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just maybe a little tricky. It probably won't see much play because people see it as a DPS class, but it has an option there, I guess. I'm not too sure, but maybe you're a high elf tank and you need max stam.
that's interesting.
That's
Yeah,
that's one way to
okay.
get stamina.
All right. Yeah, so they get extra spell damage and max magicka. And I'm pretty sure this is your best damage dealer option on the magicka side still, yeah.
It's really close to Khajiit, just depending on how you build,
Oh, yeah, the crit.
and it's also close to other classes, but it etches out just a little bit. So like, someone did a comparison that showed Altmer to be a little bit better than Khajiit at number one, whereas like Breton was very high up there as well, but in the sustain department. So like if whichever one you value more and want to build towards, or build off of.
Okay. And I guess these were tested, what, PvE and game type stuff? Like dummy
Uh,
tests or what?
that was all Zoss on that
Oh,
end.
okay,
So
so we don't know. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Cool. All right. Argonian's an interesting one. I think this is a big part of the reason they wanted to redo races to begin with. These guys were pretty fierce. Let's look at the before after. So before they had resource gain, max magicka, and then here's the big one: the restore pot passive. It was a flat 4,600 health magicka stam when you drink a pot. Now it's just 1,000 max magicka, and it restores 3,600. Still flat when you drink a potion. So they shaved off about 1,000 on each stat resource. Max magicka's probably going to be better. 1,000's probably better than
yeah,
3%.
yeah, just depending on how you really built, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, for the most
Yep.
part. And then,
Before they were like stat wise, they were almost two races.
yeah,
Like it was pretty insane. Yeah.
yeah. You mean with the what?
With the potion
With the
having,
potion and then the
yeah,
healing one?
9% max health and like 3% magicka along with the healing done and received. It was really strong. Really,
Yeah,
really
yeah. And that was the other one. 9% max health. The resistance is here. So this increases health to 1,000, and then disease resistance still. So they get 1,000 health and 1,000 magicka. They still get the pot passive shaved down a bit. And then quick to mend, which was 5% on healing done and 5% on healing received, is now just increase healing done by 4.
Yeah, that took a hit. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one that really got hit, and I'd say the pot thing.
What
But
another thing that goes unnoticed is the immune to disease status effect, which is actually really strong
yeah,
when fighting anything like night blades that can proc that defile on you. You're just immune to it now. So it
Mr.
kind of covers a little bit of the healing.
Mr. T saying Argonians got shit on in comparison. You guys have your volume turned almost all the way up. Hang on, I can boost it up a bit more. Okay, that should be a little better. I'll be a little louder too. If you can't disease them, does that mean they can't be defiled? They can be debuffed. You can't put
Yeah,
disease on them.
yeah, you
That's the
can put
thing.
the major, like you can put
Like
the
if you hit them with a
defile
reverb,
buff.
they're gonna get major defiled. But yeah,
They're not gonna get it
Argonians are still
passively
really
through
strong. I
any.
think so too. I see everyone was saying how badly these guys got slammed, and I don't see it up front. Like they still get 1,000 health and 1,000 magicka. In fact, those stats are a little better. The healing portion, that passive really took a hit, and that was pretty crazy. It was 5% healing done and received. it made these guys such fierce tanks in the way they could build and restore themselves constantly. But they still have the pot passive, which is still really good. Like, it's still really good. Mr. T says they are okay. All right, T. Still think it's pretty good. They're no longer Biss. All right. Well, I mean, I think we expected Argonian. I expect them to get hit more than this, actually. I kind of thought they would. The pot pass is really good, but they still have good stats. And for me, honestly, when I go through this, and that's why I'm wondering, I don't know how some of the people went through between the devs or the class reps, and how many looked at this from a non-CP perspective. That does encompass all BGs, non-CP campaigns, which aren't as popular as Vivek right now, but they are pretty booming. Like, ours is pretty good. EU's is constantly filled up pretty well, too, from what I hear. It's the consoles at non-CP is not as popular right now, from what I understand. There's a lot of people that can't play on non-CP and console, and some of them have just come to PC instead for the performance and the environment. I thought the pot passive was going to hit much harder. I thought they'd remove it. I still think that's very strong. You are still, because you have, like, you can still do those infused pot builds and cooldown pots, and I mean, that's a lot. But even without it, 3,600 on demand, like, you can use, like, an immovable healing Magicka pot and still get, like, 3,600 stam coming in behind it, and an extra Magicka in health on top of the. I still think it's good. So, but okay, that's Argonian. I don't think they got hit too bad, because again, like, I find the fact that they got 1k Magicka and 1k health to be pretty big to pair still with that stuff. I think that's pretty good. That's why I ask about the CP stuff. Like, is the actual max stat things? They're really important when you're trying to build a guy in non-CP. They're really important. Like, anywhere you can fetch health to barely make it to a certain level is very important. And when you start doing that, then you have to start factoring in other things. I feel Magicka builds probably struggle with that a little more too, because they need to be able to sustain. If they get CC'd in non-CP, it costs so much of their stam bar to deal with it. So if you take a race in there that is really stat drained, it's very difficult. Like, you end up having to try enchant them across the board, and as a result, you'll have like a lower, just general max. Say if you're a Magicka, you're gonna have a lower max Magicka to be able to have sufficient health and stam to survive. But that's why I wonder about the max stats. Yeah, Pegasus, I'm gonna get to that one. I agreed, but we'll get to that. Wood Elf. I read this one. I thought this was interesting. All right, Wood Elf. Let's do it. 21% stam recovery, which is pretty fierce. Is now just increase your recovery to 258. So again here, what are your thoughts on that? Like, 21% could probably turn out way more than 250 stam recovery on a proper build, right? Even a balanced one.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a nerf there, more or less. Unless you're avoiding, like, unless that's how you're picking up recovery, like, a bit.
Yes,
from that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to do with it. To be like, I can build this, I get my recovery from there. I don't need to put a stam recovery enchant on, or I don't need to take that Mundus, or I don't need to wear this set for like 150 more stam recovery, right? That kind of shit.
Right. You're not investing into your racials, which should be just helping you instead.
Right.
That's 2 steps, and it's now down to 1. So.
Yeah, I get what they're going for there. But okay, so that got moved to that. Resist affliction, which is max stam, and poison disease resistance will now increase your max stamina by 2k. And poison resistance. Okay. Stealthy reduces detection radius 3 meters, increased damage done in stealth by 10%. This has been changed to Hunter's Eye. Increase your stealth detection radius by 3 meters. After you roll dodge, you gain 20% move speed for 3 seconds. How do you feel about that one?
I think that one is pretty strong, honestly.
I'm not, like... Did anyone pitch it out, maybe? And you don't have to answer, but, like, they went through the whole Swift meta issue, right? Like, did anyone look at 20% move speed and think, that's a lot? Like, I don't know. Take, for example, I don't know. You know the Ride the Lightning build, the thing I do there with that, and
Hmm.
it's just it doesn't even use shuffle because shuffles freaking sucks right now. But if you put something like that on it, I don't even use shuffle. I use just mobility through move speed, and then streak to line of sight to in place of shuffle, so to speak. But like that on top of that, something that's a build again where this is something. This is a. I think it's a. I think it's too niche actually. Like if you just this is going to 100% force people into bow builds here. Like on this wood elf, it's going to force them. It absolutely targets them into it. Because pairing that with a bow, like a bow, you get expedition for 4 seconds, and this thing gives it to you for 3. Why are you not just gonna run around with a fucking bow on every wood elf, right?
Either that or like a warden with the speed buff, and then being able to roll without
Yeah, or
being
yeah,
having to have
yeah,
the
without
bow.
needing it too. I mean, I think that one's a little dangerous, but
You son of a
and it goes beyond
bitch.
that. Like I don't know what's happening with move speed yet. We'll find out soon. Hopefully, there better be something in the patch notes. Or I'm gonna lose my mind. But like if move speed is getting some kind of rework, whether it be its resistance, how it's applied, or whatever, um, and it should move up basically away from these mass slows. So if it does do that, and then you have something like that on top of it, that's a lot. That's pretty dangerous. Is all I'm saying. So, but I think it's a little fierce, a little too fierce with bows. I think you're gonna have guys that are a little too tough to catch for a lot of people. Now, there's a lot of builds that can. There's a lot of ways to do it. Like I could do that on my stem circ, no problem. Streaking with Hurricane, find them, spin them, whatever. But there's going to be a lot of classes that just aren't going to do much to that. Um,
I think
eh,
it's gonna be pretty OP in like champion points, but I'm not sure
yeah,
like its overall strength in burst situations. Yeah, it'll be really strong in CP, but if you gotta constantly roll, get an
I do
advantage,
that
it's gonna be
though.
rough in CP though.
Like you can make builds to do it, and their passes back it up. They're already giving them flat 2K stam with passive recovery. Like they already got the starter kit to start spamming roll dodge here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true, it's true. But they also don't have a lot of the other things that other classes have.
Yeah, yeah. I think that one could be problematic. I mean, the good
I think
news is most what else I fight, man, they die instantly. But I mean, some people could switch to it, and 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 probably will. Like, if you want to run a solo build or something, dude, just grab a bow and something with this. Just do it. Small Sun's gonna be fast and deadly. He is. He's gonna be fierce.
I think we need to get on the PTS and play around with it and give some good feedback for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, Small Sun with werewolf with that, dude. Just rolling around in your
Woo.
werewolf, flying, unbelievable. That's pretty wild. Um, that'd actually make a really good werewolf because yeah, it just amps up all their max stam, their recovery. All right, yeah, I think that one could be
You
troublesome.
son of a
He,
bitch.
and the only reason I say it is like again, I no issue like running that down or whatever if I encountered somebody out there doing it. I think what it can do is essentially increase the amount of complaints you're gonna see about move speed, and that's how things get nerfed, and they get nerfed into a bad place. Like I think the whole move speed thing was a bad step in Murkmire. I think it was an overkill solution, a broad sweep of move speed that has resulted in needing to revisit all the work that was done on it. And it results in wasting a lot of people's times coming back and reworking move speed again because of those changes. And those changes are a result of complaints. And things like this will create those complaints. So that's all, in my opinion. But we'll see. But okay. So that's that one. And you know what else is interesting that you didn't even mention, but I think it's cool because I already looked at the Khajiit earlier too. I checked it. So they removed both the damage bonuses from stealth. I think that's a great step in the right
I
direction.
I think so too.
It pushes people away from seeing it and leaning towards that gameplay style, number one, but it also gets rid of that problem of those extremely heavy bursts from stealth to the point where you don't have time to react and people building into that. as much as people like to one-shot gimmick people. Like, again, that's another thing people will go and complain about. Getting rid of some of the dumb things like that are a step in the right direction. So, just say no to gankers from stealth. That's right, T. You tell them. Anyway, here we go. Moving on. Breton. Breton is finally competitive.
Woo!
Let's check him out. Gift of Magnus. Increase your max magicka by 2k. This is from the 10%. So instead of 10% magicka, increase by 2k. Again, as Fear said, this would again be like, if you're min-max, it's going to be slightly less. Not, pretty negligible. In non-CP, this would be more than you would get typically with your average build.
Yep, that's correct.
Spell resistance, gain spell resist, passive 2300. It's not bad. And then 100 magic recovery. That's pretty good. And that is coming from just a flat 3960 spell resist. What do you think of that one?
We needed to tune it down a little bit because that is something that the Nords really came in with.
They were touching on the Nord territory?
Yeah, they were doing that. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay.
Burly men started coming out, dude. It was bad.
Lore
so we
friendly.
had to turn it down.
Okay, fair enough. The Magicka Mastery, which was pretty cool. This was 3% Magicka cost reduction. This is now reduced the Magicka cost of your abilities by 7%. Wasn't Magicka Mastery? Wait, wasn't Breton's? That was all skills before, right?
No, I think it was just Magicka.
Was it?
Just
okay.
Abilities, yeah.
I haven't played Breton, so I wouldn't know. That's Tuggle's territory. So only Magicka. So that one got pushed up to 7%. That's pretty big.
Yeah,
that's like a 5-piece bonus
insane, yeah.
level of cost reduction, which are hard to come by too. So packing that on a passive, it's pretty nice. I don't think
especially
it's
for
too over
those
the top.
people in heavy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, okay. I guess that's it for Breton. They're better now. All right. With the reduction percent stack with passives and seducers. How's the math pan out on that? They start to drop off, right? The seducers, like, it'd be a little bit less, right?
It should be the same. Should be all good.
Okay. Brett Sustain looking pretty nice. Yeah, that is nice. You're getting 2k Magicka, recovery built in, and a great cost reduction on Magicka skills. So that'll be really fitting for a lot of supportive builds, actually. That's a very desirable support build for PvP type stuff. The support builds I make, it's a good option right there. Brett Sustain needs to be good to compete with the spell damage buff. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Dark Elf. These guys had increase your max stam and magicka. Sorry, let's start from the old. 6% max magicka and stamina is now moved to increase your max stamina magicka by 1250. Would you say this is a buff that looks like a little bit of a buff?
It's a buff to stam, but a nerf to magicka because they also get another 3% more magicka, and they didn't get any. Like, it's moved down and cut across the board, really.
Okay, more about flattening it then, kind of. Okay, so yeah, the next one is the 3% magicka and flame resist is now increase your max health by 600 and your flame resist by 2300. Why would they move the flame resist up by 200 or 100? Who picks these numbers? Jeez. They just get a little random number generator. Hit me. All right. So health by 600. They get.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't see that coming. I think it's to put them in line with Khajiit being the hybrid races where they have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Although I think the extra health is a little strong.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. Again, like coming back to stats, a lot of these races are getting like a flat 2k replaced for their 10%. But in general, most of them get 2k. And that's not all. And we're not just looking at max stats in isolation here because you have to look what else they get. comparatively with it. Which we'll get to with these guys, but that's pretty good. I mean, 1250, and 600 is nearly 3K in stats, max stats. Now, they don't have regen or stat return, so they're kind of forfeiting that for a pretty good stat base that's across the board. Hybrid races, yeah, hands up. And then their last one, the 7% flame damage and the 2% elemental, is now going to be, excuse me, increase your weapon and spell damage by 258. And this kind of slots them into that hybrid role.
It lets them
choose their
become more than just the Dragonite guy, more than just and also what it does is say, like, for example, you go into Sanctum Ophidia and you love stamina, but your stamina guy just isn't that good in Cloud Rest, right? It's too much movement. You need ranged abilities. There's a lot of ranged attacks. So you can just easily swap him over. The same with Khajiit. And you can stay on your same character and be effective, which is a big draw to why like Dark Elf and Khajiit are really strong or desirable for the mass majority of the players, for sure.
So you're telling me, was that intended? Are you telling me it's intended that they want people to be able to play a character and be able to switch up kind of their setup type thing?
I don't know if it was intended, but it definitely is.
It definitely works for application.
Yeah. The only thing I got to say about Dark Elf is the health just kind of comes out of nowhere. I think it's to answer Khajiit, but I think it's a little strong, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Just having all of those stats. I mean, they did take a Magicka hit, but man, they get the health as well. So.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty good stats. Like a lot, some of the sustain stuff isn't there, like said earlier.
Oh yeah. In PvE, like you'll have to build pretty decently into sustain.
Whether you have
food,
none.
Absorb, stamina. Whereas like Breton, you can just go full damage. Altmer, you can kind of play around and see, can I sustain here? No.
Now, would you find has it been determined then? What is your best race for Magicka PvE DPS then?
Altmer, and then Khajiit for damage, and Khajiit wasn't far behind. For stamina, it actually was Dark Elf, but not by much. Like Orc is right up there. Plus, they have the regen. It's hard to say in practice.
Yeah, Orc has a little sustain, and I saw. We'll scroll down to that one too here. Hey, what do you think for Orc? We're going there, dude. Alphabetical, man. It sucks, huh? Here we go. Let's move to Imperial. I've always thought Imperials are pretty good. I don't know why they get dogged a lot, but tough increases.
They're like the stat hog. The only thing I have with them is that their theme is not as strong as the other ones, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, certainly not for PvE. Like, not even close. But like for PvP, I don't think they're that bad. Again, being able to build the stat in. And the passive is not bad, dude. What's considered a melee attack and how easy it is to proc. Let me go through it real quick. So they had tough, 12% max health, increase your max health to 2,000. It's probably the highest percent thing in all of them, but what is this doing? This was like the highest percent here, but 2,000. Then max stam 10% again. This is increasing your stamina 2,000. So they get 2,000 health and stamina. I mean, that's, again, especially a non-CP, that's a fucking lot, dude. If you're building a stam character, that is huge. Is it Imperial race you have to pay for? Yeah, you still have to pay for them, I think. So there is that. Red Diamond is 10% chance melee attack to heal for 6% of your health. This is changed when you direct damage. You have 15% chance to heal for 1750. So
another point on this is it has no internal cooldown. So
I know
what it could do is very powerful or very spotty, depending on how you use it.
Yeah, and that used to proc on more things too. Didn't this used to proc on caltrops back in the day? I don't know.
I think there's a lot of iffy. Yeah, I think there's a lot of iffy things with like
Tornado should proc it, because my Stamplar is an Imperial. No regrets. that big son of a bitch gets it done every time. The interesting part is they added in the reduce the cost of block and bash abilities by 5%. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if their theme is as strong as the other ones. I would like to see
That one just doesn't really fall into place for me with the rest of it.
Right, that's what I said, but
Because like when I see Imperial and I see those stats, it's like, all right, this guy can get in the fight and start throwing down. It's like a perfect setup for a brawler, a frontline brawler, especially with Red Diamond. It's like throw that guy in the front and get aggressive. Make sure you're blocking and bashing. Okay, it's like what?
yeah, I don't know.
Of everything I've read, it's one that kind of stands out as like, huh? Like it doesn't seem to go in place, but it seems they wanted it to be a tank, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Fans, we kind of right. What do you Oh my, yeah, you're a little. Wow, it's a little late for that, huh? All right, here we go. But yeah, anyway, Khajiit. I didn't realize. Sorry, guys. I didn't have OBS in range. But yeah, I think overall Imperial's pretty good. Again, and this is why it's interesting. I wanted to talk about like I doubt there was much talk about these things in non-CP environment. I'm not trying to drive too hard on that, but it seems some of these races start to feel a little weaker and some a bit stronger too when I look at that. And I still don't see the Argonian nerf too hard because that kind of stuff in non-CP I feel very strong with. Like when I play in CP and I've made builds, I'm like, cool, I can depend on my stats. I don't need that Argonian passive to restore my extra 3,000 or whatever. It naturally comes in a build. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm healing for more. I'm good. I don't need that or this. They start to become different. So, basically what I'm saying is those max stats count for quite a lot in those environments, whereas in some of the others, I feel they don't as much. They're important. They're relevant to your build, but they I have to like cut certain things out when I made like certain builds. Like if I try to make like a solo stam build or something and for BGs, and it's like completely independent of whether I have a healer or whatever, it's tough to balance out all the stats and have sustain. Spin to win, bash cancel. Yeah, I guess so. I already do that. I just don't get it. The block bash, it just seems a little strange. That's all. But that's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Just commenting. That's what I'm supposed to do. All right. Okay. What's next? We did Imperial Khajiit. So this one's looking good.
Khajiit got ripped off.
Ripped off? Let's look at it.
How is a cat less stealthy?
Listen, you still get a 5% bonus change to successfully pickpocket. Okay. They didn't nerf it. You're good there.
Oh, my bad. I missed that part. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. Nimble's 20% health recovery, 10% stam recovery. This was changed to increase your health recovery by 100 and your stam and magic recovery by 75. That seems pretty good. Not bad.
Yeah, it's not too strong.
It's not too
bad.
strong.
Kind of in the middle.
Yeah. And again, Khajiit. So Khajiit's one you're gonna see the theme again, like with Dark Elf, where you're gonna see kind of a bounce between, right? Being able to take care of, like, and that's good when you're kind of all around building here. But let's jump to the other ones real quick. Stealthy, reduce detect radius, yada yada. Is now increase your max health, magic, and stamina by 750. So that's about 2250 in max stats. For whatever that's worth to you, but yeah, a little bit of each. It's like a hockey of Joe, I guess. Whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not saying it.
Fear's not gonna try it.
Nope.
And then Carnage passive is the big one. The 8% crit chance that everyone loved is now increase your weapon and spell crit chance by 8%, kind of like a thief Mundus, and reduce your detection radius and stealth. And that's the big reason they're a high contender in PvE as well. And I can see, and they can flip-flop back and forth.
You son of a bitch.
Okay, makes sense.
So why does it say reduce detection radius twice? 3 meters and 5 meters.
Wait, wait. Let me. All right. So stealthy used to
that one got
be.
changed.
Yeah, stealthy used to be reduced detection radius by 3 meters, and it
Oh, that's
increased
the
their damage
previous.
from their
Okay.
stealth. Yeah. So they said, you know what? We're gonna get rid of the word stealthy because we don't like it, and they put in lunar blessings, and they changed carnage to feline ambush. All right. Can you feel? Can you feel the cat theme coming in? All right. So reduce detection by 8 meters. No, it is a 5 meter radius, sir. Okay.
They increased the reduction by 2 meters overall.
Yes. They increased the reduction. That is correct.
Here, have you seen a cat's eyeballs? Have you seen how big they are, how big they get in low light? And you're telling me a cat can't see other stealthers? Like, what is this? I could see an elf.
Okay, you're not getting it, Yippee. All right. Reduce your detection radius. What you get detected. Your radius of detection. Yes? Or are they supposed to be stealth hunters? Which is it, Guts? Or Fear?
Guts. Yeah, you're just reducing your detection radius, where you're not getting seen easily.
Oh, so that's others' detection of you, not your ability to detect others? That's not very clear with this language.
Alright, so Yippee was confused. So there's some feedback for the passive there. Alright. Old man cannot understand the
Yeah,
Khajiit passive.
I'm always confused, so.
Alright, so there's some positive feedback there. Anyway, as Fear was saying, so these are a top contender because people are interested to know that for PvE and both Stam and Magicka, and really because of the crit as always, but a pretty good bounce on. It's well rounded again, I guess, right? Like max health Stam Magicka, a little bit of recovery pitched in, which the PvE side of things matters a little less. Some of the other ones at least, like if you're Magicka, the Stam and health don't matter as much, but So Khajiit's a contender. At least AD can't crutch on the racials anymore. Alright. No more tears for the Dominion. Alright, Nord's in here. Nord's got Stalwart. Max Stam 6%, 20% health recovery, changed to 1500 max Stam. Wow, that's a lot. That's a buff.
Yeah, it is.
When you take damage, you gain 5 ult every 10 seconds.
Woo!
Is this real?
That's something new. That's something unique. I like it. Although it can be strong when paired with other things or for like
Barbecue,
group damage and trials.
How do you like your
Does
ribs?
that work with decisive too?
Oh yeah.
Reported for not being the same as the rest of the things. Jax, thank you for 2,000 bits. Late to the party, but poggers. You dropped the YouTube thing? Hang on, let me
when you fight EP,
pull it up
they're
over
always
here.
pretty tanky.
Let me get through this, Jax.
But
Thank you,
when you
dude.
fight AD, they're always kind of squishy.
Welcome in.
Their races, man, they're so much tankier.
Yes. That's a pretty nice pass, though. It's unique. That's cool. Let's see. Let's put it all together. Resist Frost was max health 9% and cold resist. This is now max health 1k and your cold resist is 2300. So they get max stam 1500, max health 1000. The last one rugged, the 6% flat reduction, which fuck knows if it even worked. Increase your physical and spell resist by 3960. Crazy.
Yeah, this is a pretty good buff.
This is huge.
Yeah, because in heavy armor you would take less damage in certain cases, but now you can play a different kind of way and still take more, or just take less damage in more cases.
You could stick these guys in light armor.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
gain a big advantage off it. That could be an increase of nearly like 40% armor unbuffed.
Also, they can't be chilled, which means they can't be minor maim from ice, which is strong.
Oh, okay. Right, that's right. No chill. So that looks pretty good for them.
See, this is the kind of thing, like Nord got that nice theme, whereas like Imperial got the stats, which is really nice, but Nord again is not that far behind. But they
Right.
didn't get a theme. That's why I want the Imperials to get a theme.
I agree with you on that. I don't feel the block thing. Not only is it a lack of theme, but it doesn't feel that it even synergizes with what you would
Right.
pick it up for.
And it pigeonholes you into doing those actions.
Like
per
I
se.
would not be using that on any Imperial. I wouldn't be like, sorry, hang on, let me reroll Imperial so I can block. Like I'm not doing it. So yeah, it's good for feedback though. So we gotta give them. But the Nord one, yeah, it looks good, dudes. The Nords will rise. We'll see. I think they're still playing flutes at the home base. They're not ready for war. All right. The Imperial
all
theme should
drunk.
be versatile. I would expect them to be hybrids more than Dark Elves fingers. Imperials have a theme-free mount. All right. Imperial never had a theme. No/all factions. They're not bad. They're actually really strong, Imperials, but they could use, like Fear said, something a little more unique to them. This is an opportunity to add a unique touch to things. And we are seeing touches of that all over here, which is nice.
And it doesn't have to be overbearing. It just has to be
Yeah.
maybe just a little tweak there.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're already, I will say, Imperial is, in my opinion, pretty good. Especially if you can utilize that red diamond pretty well. I do think it works with things like dual wield. So when you have a build like I was running around on my Stamplar today with Blade Cloak and Tornado and Rending, you're gonna make some uses out of that. It works with jabs too, which is why I picked it up originally to try it.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be.
I don't even know why
pretty
it works
cool.
with jabs. It doesn't work with like most things in the game, but it works with that. Anyway,
Yeah,
pretty nice.
yeah.
I expect them to build more on this in the future, though, Fingers. Maybe. I mean, one day I'd like to see racial ults that was promised by someone. I don't know who. One day it was pitched out
I
there.
have no idea.
But I like an Undaunted ult, too. Don't you want to see
Yeah,
the
I'd really
ultimate
like
G Crush?
Undaunted.
How about like a triple G Crush and like a, all right. Give me something beautiful there. Yeah, that's a whole nother story though, because some of the Undaunted could use a little love there, like the trapping webs or whatever. But
Yeah, for sure.
they're little things. But okay, let's stay on topic here. All right, Orc.
Woo!
The champion race. Brawny, 6% max health and stam. Now increases your max health and stam by 500. Now this one I didn't get. I really, and I still don't get it. Everybody gets like a decent amount, and somehow 6% became 500 for the orcs.
Right, and again, they weren't like 6%. Okay, you got this much. Usually,
No, it's not supposed to be tit for tat. I get that. I understand, but in the grand scheme of their thing, they had max health, max stam. They also had health recovery and healing received. Now they still get increase your healing received by 4%, down 1%. And instead of health recovery, they move that over to when you deal damage with a weapon ability, restore health and stamina. Very low, every 4 seconds. That's not bad for stamina. It's not that great. What is that? That's, I guess, 200 regen if you're staying on offense. Not even. It's under 200 regen that can't be buffed, and you have to be engaged in combat the whole time. The health is negligible in PvP. I mean, that's going to be cut in half. What is that? Like 150 HP.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
These things come in pretty light there, and even the healing receive was nerfed a bit, which is like, really. And then the max stats, I think they've been watching this stream a lot. I think they've been watching Mid-Year Mayhem, and they've seen the orcs just dominating all over the place.
What are your thoughts on if they just change like the health and the stam back into more actual stats?
I think if they
Because
were,
that's what I think they did. I mean, look, if you look at it, they kind of gave you some more juice.
yeah, they're just so low.
Continue.
Like again, if I'm building a character in non-CP and I'm comparatively looking at something like, well, you can have 500 health and stam, right? And you're in your group and you're trying to build your character. It's like you could also have 2k health and stam if you want and get like a heal that's about 15 times stronger than that one on an Imperial. Um, or you could do this and get that move speed. But and I already expressed this to you, and I tell my stream all the time. And again, this is pending more changes on move speed, but the unique
Right.
move speed thing is not that unique right now because move speed's in such a bad place. Even with that, even if move speed's in a decent place, so they do get weapon damage here later. I didn't finish, guys. I should have. They changed their last passive, the 4% melee attack and 12% sprint cost reduction and the 10% speed. Sprint speed, that is. This is now weapon damage, which is very nice. Make no mistake. That's really the highlight of this thing. Now, again, Dark Elf gets that, and they get even more max stats. And what the Orcs get instead is that passive. The stamina thing isn't bad. I imagine that's going to add up more over PvE, but you have to understand in PvP, you're not going to hit someone every single 4 seconds, too. Like, those things have to be taken into consideration. I know that's hard to bounce when it comes to PvE, when you're doing a target test dummy thing or whatever, and you're on it for 5 minutes straight, and what you get back versus, like, a battle. Things like that activate that way should have more of a payout if you can get them up 100% than, say, a passive. But overall, I think when I look at this, the max health and stam really lacks. The fact that they're not both at least 1,000 just makes me scratch my head there. Like, when I'm looking at some of these other racials here. Like, again, if you build a character, especially in non-CP, you're really going to feel that. You're going to feel that a lot when you compare it to someone else that can build up those max stats. Don't forget the weapon damage and max healing. I didn't forget it, Scander. I didn't. Okay. But I can still... Again, I can have all this minus the sprint speed on Dark Elf and get a bit more. So it's kind of weird. And that's not including the fact that the Dark Elves also get spell and stuff. You know, if Orcs... What I don't know what Orcs' defining feature here is then. You know? Again, like, lack of theme. I mean, I get the sprint thing or whatever, but, like... Which is nice. Again, devalued right now. Heavily devalued with the amount of slows in the game. But I really don't think that move speed thing by itself there really makes up for the loss of raw stats across the board up top, base stats. Now, they can't push it up too much, because if they had too much max health stam and then still had the weapon damage, you know, that'd be a little insane. But
Yeah, it's a push and pull effect.
It
so.
is. It's slight stuff, but I think at least 1k health stam. I think they'd be looking good.
What about just kind of, again, they changed more of their upfront defense, as was in the notes, and moved it more towards continuous fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see the restore stuff in there.
Again,
So,
like I'd like more of a payoff for, as you said, continuous fighting, because there's a cost to continuously fighting. There's a cost to staying on offense. And again, this is where it is tough to balance between PvP and PvE. When you start making passives like that, you know, anything that triggers, same as the high elf, where they can restore theirs. In PvP, there's no guarantee they're getting that every second. In PvE, they're running a rotation with dots, like that will proc constantly, and that's good. Same thing on Orc, this will proc constantly. But when you apply those things to PvP, there's a little less payoff, because you're not constantly engaged in combat on the guy. So... I think those...
Good feedback.
Yeah, I think those should be kind of taken into consideration. I don't see that thing, though, the restore 380 health stam, to be super impressive, especially with the health one being nerfed in PvP, because that counts as a heal. Like, if it was a full 380, okay, but it's not. Same thing with the Imperial. If the Imperial's thing procs 1750 on rapid fire, it'd be insane, but it doesn't. It's not... an entire 1750. Like it, you know, it has to get 50% knocked off because you're in PvP.
Yeah.
So these things are different. But you know, not terrible. But I feel there's stuff lacking up top. Like they didn't really hit Swift Warrior too hard. You still have the same move speed stuff, and the weapon damage thing was definitely a buff. And that's nice. It's like something you can control and apply to your character. This stuff seems a little underwhelming. The combination of the first two, the stat return's not terrible, but the health's almost, you know, Redguard is probably, they get the same thing, right? And they restore 792 stamina. So in PvP, they're not punished for getting 792 stamina back, and we're not punished for getting whatever our stam is, whatever the hell it is, 380 stam. We're not punished for that, but we are punished for the health one, and it makes the health one like so terrible. It's so bad. Like that's literally like 150 health if I'm not defiled. Maybe it's 90 HP then, right? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
In terms
It's
of
really
health regen, in terms of health recovery, you know, like I can't use Troll King with health recovery 20% now might work, which I did before. Instead, I have this thing to get healed for like 100 HP, you know, every 4 seconds. That's the other thing. That's not whatever. That is every 4 seconds you can get like 100 something health. Like,
yeah, it's 95, and then
the stamina recovery is nice, but I get Redguards own that. That's their department. That's fine. They can keep that. That is what they do. That's what defines them. It seems like they gave us a half-ass version of that and combined it with low max stats, in my opinion. Joe Hudson agrees too. He's a mod, by the way. So
it's good feedback. Good feedback.
Yeah. Best race for Stamplar after race changes? I don't know, man. I'm not. What do you think, Fear? I'll pitch it to Fear. I still like Stamplar for it, dude. I'm telling you guys, Stamplar is pretty nice on
In what
Imperial.
context? PvP?
PvP, yeah.
I mean, it just depends on your playstyle again. Like, there's so many different options.
I think Imperial's still good and still was, but some of these other guys that are bulky are going to be all-around good upfront fighters, I think. Like something like a Nord is just well balanced, dude. That is just well balanced, and that's what I'm saying. When you start to look at some of these things, you just go, "Damn, it's well balanced." Like straight up, this covers a lot of stats. You know, I look at that: max health, max stam, flat armor increase, ultimate gain as well passively. Versus like, don't worry, Fangrush. Don't worry, 90 HP's coming. 2 more seconds. Hold out, brother. You can start sprinting. Just kidding. You're slowed. You can't even fucking move, dude. You know,
Don't fall 3 feet on the earth. You'll just lose that.
So it's I feel the orcs got lost somewhere in the middle there, or they've been watching the stream a lot and they wanted to nerf them. Like I don't know. But the last passive's good, but the other two just seem like they're very underwhelming. They're actually some of the most underwhelming on here, I think. I look at a lot of these and I think they're pretty good. They're pretty strong. They are pretty defining, each one. The orc one is like a third of a lot of the others, like raw stats. And yes, they get the weapon damage. That is the big shine in this. But like so do Dark Elves, and they already get more stats than orcs. So it's like, what the fuck's going on there? But anyway, that's the feedback on that first pass. How's the orcs worse than Dunmer? I mean, just right off the top, the Dunmer gets more raw stats. They actually get more max stamina and weapon damage than the orc combined. So that's all. Now they don't get that stam sustain, that little bit of makeup. I'm not talking something huge. I'm not like go back to the drawing board and fire that guy or something, you know. But like it's just, you know, it's just a little just my feedback on it, dude. That's all. These things have changed up. And again, slight adjustments all over the places, and a lot of things people haven't been able to test as well, because these are changes that will pan out with your builds and play styles, but also some of these things are become stronger or weaker depending on the meta. Again, like I find Swift Warrior's movement speed very underwhelming with the current move speed. I do not value it as much right now. I do not rely on Orc's move speed as much as I ever did before, because move speed is so busted right now. It's terrible right now, trying to move around in PvP. As soon as you engage in combat, you're slowed. And so, you know, that's all. Anyway, it's all good. Move forward. So what else? The best race now for PvP? Nope. They got a nice setup to run, dude. Boy oh boy, can they run? Now they look good, man. They got max stam. They got the strong flat recovery and great move speed. So honestly, they're a strong contender for building a solo build. Like I would look at them for that right away. Redguard got a buff. Let's look at it. Here we are. This is the last one. So exhilaration, 9% stam recovery on the Redguard is now martial training. Reduce the cost of your weapon abilities by 8%.
This also affects weapon ultimates.
It reduces the cost of the ultimate?
That's correct.
Ooh. That would be nicer if some of the ults were better.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the first thought that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Dual wield one's not terrible, and it's great in PvE. In PvP, it's just too impossible to aim with the latency and everything of the server. It's unfortunate, but that's a reality. The one I've thought about even using on Mid-Year Mayhem is using the dual wield ult to amp your damage by 30%, the other morph of it, and then switching over and cleaving.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's pretty strong. Yeah.
It can be very strong.
Just really small.
It's so situationally unbelievable to use though, that its payoff is difficult to warrant its use. Ballista is very strong. Even in PvP, it's strong, but okay. And then, but again, it's Ballista, right? It's a single target ult. Like that's gonna put you in a real specific slot. It's unique. Sword and board ult's still good. Always has been. Pretty expensive, but and then the two-handed ult. Two-handed ult. It's like it's very strong if it works and hits, but and it hits more now this patch because of the roll dodge changes, which in my opinion should be reverted because it just you start hitting people through roll dodge. Like two-handed ult, you don't see it a lot, much at all really. But I've seen them hitting a lot more people and used intermittently here because them and Incap are now hitting people because the animation window to dodge them is nearly non-existent. Those are like instant skills and like, well, you could dodge it. It's like, really? Because if you've already started your roll dodge and they fire it, like you're hit, you know? So I don't like that with the roll dodges, but whatever. It's kind of getting off topic, but yes. Maybe it could be used for some of the weapon damage ults, but that's interesting, Fear, that they could be used with the ults. Outside of that, I mean, I guess they make good spinners, right? If you want to spin and win, baby.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for spin and win, I'd say that's very limited options used, but dual wield is so powerful and used so effectively. And I foresee in 2019 we're going to have a rework on dual wield in some way. I think it's too straightforward and too effective and too dominant. And in some ways I wouldn't mind it, especially if there are options to replace it. I like Steel Tornado for a couple reasons. And then for a lot of reasons, it is too straightforward. But that's another story too. So I won't tangent on that either. That's interesting, the first one, because reducing the cost of weapon abilities by 8%, it's a lot. The fact that it applies to ults is pretty big. It's limited use. It's not the worst thing, but that does not apply to a lot of things like Vigor on your build or something, right? That's not going to help you.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
So they actually do miss out on a bit there, and that'd be interesting how it pans out, say in PvP with if you're not just running a damage rotation. So anyway, max stam is now 2k stam. Seems good. Can't argue with that. Adrenaline Rush. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you restore 792 stam every 5 seconds. That has now been changed to 950 stam with direct damage every 5 seconds.
Which is a lot more clear and
that's any single target targeted,
better.
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like that includes poison injection and stuff, guys, or just a light attack, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. Rather than a melee attack, like it had to be something melee, so which was limited to a category, so that's a good change too there. Pretty interesting. Again, I think that first one's
son of
a
a
little
bitch.
weird, but not terrible, especially if you had the right build for it. But like that could go the way of some things. Like honestly, I feel if dual wield got nerfed a bit or something, that would be a very underwhelming, in my opinion. Like right off the bat, um, sword and board's still pretty real costy, and it would be nice there. But a lot of classes that use other stuff, like maybe a two-hander or whatever, or bow, usually mix in some class skills too. More so, like more
You
dots.
son of a bitch.
Whereas a lot of
Yeah,
people can just run a tornado build with rending, and they're good, dude. And that's it.
yeah. You dual wield is like super powerful and like
Yes.
two abilities. Whereas like two-hander, when you run two-hander, you need a gap closer, you
Yeah.
need like
Yeah.
wrecking blow or the dizzying swing, rally, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on some classes, that would not be as attractive. Like, say, on a Nightblade, where you get a really good spammable, like
Right,
surprise
and
attack.
And your ult, you're definitely going to use end cap.
You're
and
definitely
stuff.
gonna use in cap, yeah. So certain classes are not even gonna want to touch Redguard. Same thing, I guess, for
Nightblade
like a
is
Warden.
Bosmer, man. Bosmer is such a
Yeah.
Nightblade class, like,
Yeah.
or race.
Or Orc. Always believe in the Orc. It's FearTurbo, yeah. Do you think we should see bleed build nerfs next week? It's very possible. It's very likely. I think they're pretty aware of how strong bleeds are and how prominent they are. We'll see. There's quite a few prominent issues. That's another story. Again, and I'm going to wait till it just comes. And again, we can just chat about it and engage about that and move through those patch notes separately. But there's the racial things. I don't think it's too bad or anything too radical. There's a few definitely to work at there. I think a few of them we have to see pan out too. I think some of the middle road ones could be pretty fierce, especially something like Nord, dude. I find Nord to be pretty wild, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested in Nord. I just made a new Dragonite Nord.
Like for those mid-size groups that run like really good groups, like kind of like old
Oh,
Whip
yeah.
Squad Stam build group. That's perfect.
Just going in and busting, and you're
Yeah,
super tanky.
you have good stuff. You still get ult gain coming back. You get max health. You get max stam. You get high resistance to pack on top
Sorry
of
if I
medium.
missed it.
Bitch.
But do we get race respecs at all?
You're getting one.
You're
Everyone's
getting
getting
one
one token. Yeah.
Unless you have children, Yippee, you get 10.
All right,
One for
excellent.
each.
You son of a bitch.
I'll share with everyone.
God bless them. Yippie's so generous.
You son of
AD
a
Siege
bitch.
nerf, where is it? I don't know, Crom. We will not tolerate, we're not going to talk about other issues right
You
now.
son of
I
a
could go
bitch.
on and on and on and on and on, and I don't want to.
You son of a bitch.
What's up, McGee? Race changes, dude. That's what's new. My Nordens coming out winning. Whoop. Yeah, I could see a lot of Nord stem Nordens
You
coming
son of a bitch.
to birth right now. What do you think about what else changes? Bosmer will be useless in PvE? I don't think so. What do you think, Fear? Who's top dog stem, would you say?
It's hard to say really because you really need sustain in trials. What's really cool is that like Redguard offers that ultimate sustain because we do use a lot of weapon abilities.
Right.
Along with some classes use like Ballista. You use Thriving Chaos and Trash, and
Right.
so it's very nice. Although Dark Elf
You
seems to be
son of
the
a
highest
bitch.
damage, just raw damage, whereas Khajiit could be very good in terms of like using a dagger and axe and having that 8% crit cover the loss of the dagger. Then
Yeah.
you got Orc, which is also really, really, really good because you do a lot of running in trials, and the faster you are, the more competitive you are in your times. So that could be, and they're easier to heal. They have the weapon damage. They have some sustain. They have some stam. So it's
Yeah, the
just
fact
kind
that
of
they get a weapon damage they can scale, I think, is the most attractive thing. But to me, right, like being able to scale up your weapon damage is pretty important right now with all the buffs, doing all the checks and balances
Yeah.
there. That's how I do the 10k weapon damage.
just like right now, the races have never been this close. Like in terms of man, I don't really know, or it's like, oh, I'm just definitely gonna be
Yeah,
this.
and that's good too. And I think having that, and I think that's the goal, is having something like that where they're
Son
pretty
of a
close in that
bitch.
sense, but then they have these kind of unique themes, or that's what they're trying to play to. And I think they've achieved that pretty well. I do. First pass. There's a couple I see here. Again, like guys, some of these are going to pan out a certain way in PvE to be better or best. Some will be better or best in PvP. It's almost impossible without making them all the same or very dull to not have a best for this or for that. But with that said, like having the unique features to them is something that's really cool and nice to have and see. But they can't be too strong as well. Otherwise, that's when they become the best. You know. But
I hope to see some tweaks to, yeah, the orc thing. Like you said, the health is really underwhelming. And the Imperial, again, yeah. The rest of them seem pretty spot on for me.
Yeah, there's some good stuff there. I'll think it over. It'll be easier to see too. I think when we can get our hands on to play it, and some people can feel some of the impact differences. Because some of them, I think you could. It's interesting. Some of those you would feel a real difference in. Like I could see building a medium armor Nord actually really effectively right now.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
Like a little too effectively actually. Like that's a lot of armor. That's a lot of fucking armor. And like
I was thinking like werewolf hide, like
yeah,
medium body, and then like using a heavy damage set, getting ultimates like with Nord, DK, getting a little bit sustained there with like blood spawn. My armor skill, like I'm getting really tanky.
yeah.
I'll be more of
Son
the,
of a
and I'm not gonna
bitch.
come out and just dawn break you and you're dead. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
be
you don't
more of
need
like
to.
the
That's
up
good for
front
that well
guy.
balanced thing that can go the distance, and which is good in those stam mid-sized small groups too as
Like a
well.
bruiser or a brawler, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, Elijah Dark, thank you for 4 months again. Just lurk coming above, show support for hibernating again. Elijah, thank you again. Just reading the patch notes a little. But yeah, we'll see what else comes with this. So I guess these are still open for some changes. I still find Argonian to be pretty good too, especially non-CP, very strong there. I probably wouldn't change any of my Argonians on the defensive side. IT guy, what's up, dude? How you doing? I can only comment on racial and how I feel about it. Nothing about the future stuff. I love you. Fear, I didn't even ask you. I just assumed you would. I'm glad you can
No,
though.
it's just
Yeah,
just
I wasn't gonna
tag.
poke you on the other stuff anyway.
Yeah, I can't talk.
No, I know.
Just how I feel about them,
Yeah,
about the racials.
yeah, and that's good. We should have the other stuff, guys, by next week. I imagine PTS will probably be Tuesday or something. That's usually patch day, so we'll probably get notes Tuesday morning too to look at. It's Tuesdays, right? Not Mondays. Patch days, aren't they Tuesdays? I hope I'm not getting my days mixed up. That's usually this. I'm just soft target guys on that. I think. Unless Genus calls out sick, in which case everything shuts down.
That's correct.
And there will be no streams on Tuesday if Gina
Son
calls
of
out
a
sick.
bitch.
So here's hoping. Hey, Earl, thank you for 4 months. Hooray!